I have learned very few things in my life, but one of these very few things do include why people like myself plan things out. A few years ago, I asked my brother if he could record some lines that I had written for a particular animation, and I really didn't think that he would do it. So when he came back to me with said recording, I sat down immediately and I worked it out for months. Hundreds of hours put into this one particular project. And when I finally finished, I was so excited to finally see it. I had been seeing it in chunks, so to see it all together was really exciting. So I sat down and I played it, and it was the worst thing I've probably ever made. It was so bad that I couldn't watch it a second time. I almost deleted it off of my computer, but I thought that it was probably a good lesson to keep. Everything was wrong with it. The placement was wrong. The timing was wrong. Even though the mouth was synced up almost perfectly to the audio, the rest of his body was moving almost 7 times fast. I just wanted his body to move just a little bit, like his head moving and blinking and breathing. But I would get so excited sometimes that I would add so much detail into a couple frames and then completely forget them the next couple frames and then remember suddenly. So I decided that it was awful and I would never create anything like this ever again. And I would do that by planning things out, scene by scene, anytime I ever thought of animating anything ever again. And this is essentially what a storyboard is. It's supposed to help organize a creator's thoughts and how they want the viewer to feel. It also helps determine whether something's important, whether to highlight it or not to include it at all, whether it's a waste of time. And in my particular case, it helped me with my placement, angles, and timing. Storyboards were, as we know them today, originally developed by Walt Disney and his animation team in the early 1930s. Back then, they were mostly used for entertainment, animations, things like movies and cartoons. Now, they're used almost in any field. Businesses use them, novel writers use them, scientific research. Scientists will draw up storyboards and try to convey visually and sometimes more descriptive what they think their hypothesis is or how a particular experiment goes. Storyboards are mainly formatted like very even and very big comic strips. They're really big squares for a lot of room for drawing, and sometimes there's a lot of space with lines to describe each frame or each scene, because in a storyboard, every frame and every scene has to have a purpose. This helped me a lot. This helps me every day because I see things a little bit differently, or I learn a little bit differently. I think a little bit differently, so I need to visually put something down so I know what I'm doing, what's really important, and what is a complete waste of breath. This helps me with my English class, with my English narrative, when I really need to, hunker down and think what I really need to say. Especially things like the speech, where I don't really know what to talk about, so I draw it out. It's like an outline, but for visual people. It is an outline for visual people. And it's just helped me ever since. Every animation I've ever done ever since has been so much better.